Okay, hello again. I'm going to take you through how you answer a 40-mark essay style question on Unit 2 Governing the UK, which is obviously part of your AS Government and Politics exam. So basically this is all about how to answer what is probably the trickiest question you'll need to answer all year, the 40-mark essay question that makes up section B on that paper. The first thing to remember is just like everywhere else in the exam, it's a mark a minute. So you're expected to write for 40 minutes on this question. Obviously, a couple of minutes are needed to sketch out a plan, and obviously to make sure that you've picked your question carefully. This is worth a quarter of your overall AS grade, so picking that question carefully is very, very important. So you'll answer section B off the back of section A. For section A, you'll have a choice of two source style questions, as you can see here. And section A, it follows the structure as all of your Unit 1 questions did. You have a 1A, which is worth 5 marks, 1B is worth 10, 1C is 25. So you get a nice mark division. But with section B, it's 40 marks per question. One long essay question, 40 marks, right for 40 minutes. So you've got two examples here. How effective are backbench MPs? Or to what extent do judges protect individual rights and freedoms in the UK? Now, if I was you, I know which one I would answer. I would answer that top one. How effective are backbench MPs? The nice Parliament question. Obviously, if you revise your judiciary, then you've got an option there for number 4. Now, the 40-mark questions are tricky, and if you're struggling for structure, then you're going to have to go for this. Exactly the same structure as you would go on one of those 25-mark questions on either a Part C on the source or a Part C in a Unit 1 style question. So, how effective are backbench MPs? On the one hand, they are. On the other hand, they're not that effective. If you do that, well, you'll sort of muddle through, you'll get through. But you want to do something a bit more ambitious for these essay questions, okay, to show off more evaluative thinking, a more confident approach. So, let's look at that question again. How effective are backbench MPs? Ideally, you're going to be going into that question kind of thinking along the spectrum of, well, they're either more effective or they're more ineffective. To a larger extent, they're ineffective, although they do some effective things. That would be my argument. Okay? Now, you can only really go for this approach if you know your stuff. And for this question, the examiners are really separating the people who have done some proper study from the people that haven't. So ideally you will really know your stuff, have good working examples going into answering this question. Okay? Now, knowing your stuff, have a look at this table I've put together. Pause the video and really consider the question I've put there. Does what's in this table amount to knowing your stuff for a Unit 2 40 marker? Okay, hopefully you've had a pause, you've had a think. Well, actually, it really doesn't amount to knowing your stuff. What it does show is great amounts of intellectual skill. It's shown the examiner, say if you were to take that plan, put it into an essay, that you have good intellectual skill. You can put together a good argument. But what it's lacking are the facts. And it's the facts that make the ability to explain even more impressive, and it makes that ability to put down an argument on paper all the better. So you've got to make sure you've got some good working examples if you're going to really do well on one of these longer essay mark questions. Okay, what we're going to do is have the opportunity to go through a completed 40-mark style essay. Okay, so remember the question again is how effective are backbench MPs? What I want you to do, exactly as it says on the screen, I want you to pause the video as you go and read over the complete essay, which is going to be on the next few slides. Now, this essay was written by a guy called Charlie Barker, and I want you to note down all of the examples that Charlie Barker has used throughout his essay, and note whether they show backbenchers are being effective or ineffective. If I was you, I'd write them down in a table, just like what I've got here. Okay, so effective in one column, ineffective in the other column. So make sure the slides don't move too fast, pause as you go through, really read through the essay so you've completely understood both the essay and try to get a sense of how Charlie's gone about actually structuring the essay too. Okay, now you've had a chance to read through the essay, you would have hopefully seen that, just like I've modelled here, this is kind of what Charlie's examples look like. One example that Charlie's used: backbench MPs are effective. Backbenches are effective because of the action of select committees. Since the reforms of 2010 to elect the chairman by secret ballot and give them increased pay, there has been an increase in the feeling of responsibility and prestige of select committees to hold government ministers to account. Select committees now perform the bulk of scrutiny of the government, and their impact is widely visible. For example, George Osborne's 2012 budget contained several controversial measures, including the so-called pasty tax on hot-baked goods. Following intense scrutiny from the Treasury Select Committee, led by Andrew Tyree, Osborne scrapped the plans in a victory for backbench pressure. There's some great intellectual skill there. He's really made a strong argument, but there's a good, working, up-to-date example as well. It's what the examiner wants to see for these longer style essay questions. Okay, so let's kind of break it down in terms of the structure. What does he have? He has a very organized, fact-based argument, an argument based around 3 or 4 big areas. In this case, action of select committees, willingness to defy the government whips, the introduction of the backbench business committee after 2010, and the impact of small government majorities. Now, although it's divided into those 4 areas, what makes it really, really good are the working examples that illustrate each of the areas really effectively, and an introduction and conclusion that shows the overall pattern in the argument. It's really, really well organized. Okay? Now, it's got an introduction, 4 factors, on the one hand, on the other, in all of those areas, but obviously it's a case of he's really evaluated the examples as he's gone to reach a good overall conclusion. Okay? So, what I want you to do is I want you to revise your judiciary stuff so you don't look at this question like it's impossible, and I want you to have a go at just answering that question. Try and follow the really, really good structure that we've put there. Okay? Introduction, conclusion. 4 areas ideally, effective or ineffective. That's what you're aiming for. Give it a go and then mark it against that criteria. Check the quality against the model answer that you've seen earlier in the video. Okay, well, you can pause it there, continue with that, and then obviously there are a few other questions that you can have a go at which are likely to come up on the paper in the form of a 40-mark question. Best of luck.